All right. We are live. How's everyone doing out there tonight?
Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
My name is John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Ravelin Mendoza.
Hello.
And we are the immigration law firm, Gardner and Mendoza Immigration Law. And we come to you every Monday from 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock to give you immigration updates and to answer your questions. So if you have any questions that you want to throw out there, let us know and we'll get to them eventually. I also want to say hi to everybody who's here on TikTok. Same thing. If you have a question on TikTok, get it posted and we will take them in the order that they are posted. All right.
And I'm sharing this now to my personal Facebook page. Hopefully, my cousins out there will share the page.
Now, one thing I want to remind everyone or notify everyone of is that what we do here is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. It is not legal advice. Okay. So if you have a question and we answer the question, you can't rely on that as legal advice. We're just taking a brief question from you. If you become a client of ours, obviously we would do a very deep dive. We would really look into every little detail of your case before we advised on the best way to go forward. But here, when we're just getting a little snippet of a question, we can't do that. So everything comes with a caveat that it's our best information based on experience and knowledge, but it is not legal advice.
Not legal advice. Okay, I'm going to turn this a little bit so you're not getting cut off. There we go. All right. So this week has been all about traveling into the United States as a lawful permanent resident. When you leave the country and you come back, you go on vacation or you go on a business trip and you're coming back as a permanent resident. We've also been talking about if you are coming into the United States as a visa holder, you have an F1 or you're coming on a J1 or any non-immigrant visa. And then, of course, coming back into the United States after a trip if you are a U.S. citizen. So I posted a video last week or earlier in the week, and there were a lot of questions. And essentially that video, which was on TikTok, I was explaining that if you are a permanent resident, and many people who follow us on TikTok and on Facebook, they are permanent residents, and they may have family members who are going through the process, or maybe they're going through the process to become a lawful permanent resident. But if you are a permanent resident and you have, number one, a criminal conviction, okay, that could potentially make you inadmissible. If you have an arrest or a charge that could pop up, but CBP doesn't necessarily know what the outcome was of that. That's group number one. Group number two are people who may have abandoned, or it may look like they have abandoned their permanent residency because they've been outside of the United States for more than 180 days. Remember, if you're outside of the United States for more than 180 days, even if it's less than a year, you may still be looked at by Customs and Border Protection as seeking admission. And so you're going to have to show, why did you stay outside of the United States for more than 180 days? So that's category two. And then the third category, of course, are people who, maybe there was something in the way that you got your green card that is questionable, right? Maybe and no one else knows, but right, that perhaps something was a little off and it didn't get caught when it didn't get noticed. I don't want to say the word caught, didn't get noticed, or it wasn't an issue at the time that you got your permanent residency, but now you're thinking, there could be something there. I don't want to risk it. So in no way, shape, or form are we blanket and saying, hey, look, if you're a permanent resident, do not leave the United States because you're not going to be able to come back in. We're not saying that. Okay. And the third one, yeah. And I just wanted to, clarify that and make sure that these are certain categories. And actually, let me add a couple more. The fourth one is going to be people who are permanent residents who may have criticized the government and who may have participated in protests that the government may seem as supporting a terrorist organization. Okay. So we've all seen those stories where, people may have said some things and have protested. And, there is the one right now where the gentleman he's arrested. He's a permanent resident. He's detained. And it's because of his protest and what the government says that they led to. So that's another category of people. So if you're out there and you're really going at it and going after the government for its support for X, Y, and Z, then you may be a person as a permanent resident that may not be able to come back into the United States. Okay. And then finally, the list of people from the countries that are potentially going to be banned, and some of those are Afghanistan, Venezuela, in the red zone, right?
Yeah, North Korea.
North
Iran.
Korea. It's risky, right? It's risky right now to travel in from those countries, right?
Karen says we can't hear you.
That's not good. Okay. Can't hear at all?
Can't hear us at all, or sound isn't
sound isn't working. Okay. Sorry guys, we're making an adjustment here on, let's pull this up. Maybe it's hitting the sound button. Potentially. Sorry guys, little technical difficulty. Can you hear us now? You may need to restart it it's saying no sound.
No sound.
Okay, can somebody let us know if the sound is on? Okay, awesome. We're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us know that.
Yep. All the things that I said, really important.
Yeah, I should have caught that a little sooner. I apologize. What you all don't know is that I've been kind of sick all day, so I am not 100%. And
John is not 100%. So I
is
told him that he did not have to come and read questions today, but he insisted on being with us today.
Yeah, as my dad used to say, I'm not a well man.
Yep. So anyhow, essentially, for those on TikTok who didn't get to hear what I said, the last 3 or 4 videos that I posted on TikTok are all about the travel and traveling as a permanent resident back into the United States. There were many, many questions, specifically about things like, what about if I have a criminal record and a criminal conviction, but it was expunged? Or what if it was vacated? What if it's a traffic ticket? What if it is a DUI? And all of those circumstances really needs a second look. And we're just asking you to take an inventory of yourself as a lawful permanent resident and ask yourself these questions, right? Do you have a criminal record? If you do you have documentation of the outcome of that criminal record and the criminal history? In early February, guys, we came here to you and I posted a video about it. And it was one of our clients, one of their family members. And she texted me and she said, my daughter is being questioned at the airport. Okay, fair enough. People get questioned at the airport. She's in secondary inspection. They still have her. It's been an hour. Okay. That's all very normal, right? This was February 5th. And they actually questioned her for several hours, for 8 hours. And she said, she called me and frantically and said, they're taking my daughter. They're detaining her. Thankfully, they did not detain her. She's a permanent resident and she had the equivalent of petty theft. Okay. And one of the things that we say is like document, right? You have to document to show what happened to your conviction. And a comment was, well, shouldn't they have it? Shouldn't they be able to see what happened? No, not necessarily. They can see that something happened, but they don't necessarily know the details. Was it a petty theft? did you get a fine, or did you get jail time? How long did you stay in jail? I mean, that may not all be there in their record. So they detained her, they held her for 8 or so hours, and they wrote her a notice to appear in immigration court, to appear before the judge. So the judge is going to decide whether this old, 5 or 6 or 7 year old conviction for petty theft is going to cause her to lose her permanent residency. So no, the documentation is not all there. The reason I bring that up is because this is a petty theft, and it falls under something called the petty theft exception. And what that means is basically her conviction was a misdemeanor. She could not get more than a 12-month sentence, and she didn't. She got, a fine and no active jail sentence. And so that if I had written a letter, right, and said, hey, she's allowed to come back into the United States. Yes, a crime of moral turpitude, such as this one, which petty theft falls under a crime of moral turpitude, a person can be admissible, but we do have this petty theft exception. And so if you guys have any type of criminal record history, just be very careful. And you might say you might in your mind think, well, I mean, it's not the crime of the century, right? It's larceny, it's petty theft, it's something small. I didn't murder anyone, I didn't rob anyone. It doesn't matter. It's a domestic assault and battery that went away. It doesn't matter. You need to document it, and you need proof to show when you're coming back into the United States that whatever it was, it is disposed of. Okay, so there's a lot right now, and a lot of questions.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean, if you're a non-U.S. citizen, the thing is, when you're coming back into the country, the rules are different than when you're here, when you're inside the borders of the United States. Once you're re-entering and you're knocking on the door to come in, the rules are different, and you have to be really careful. And Ratlin is right. The criminal stuff is the number one sort of pitfall, pothole, whatever that we see, because it's things that are really old a lot of times,
Yes.
or things that people in their minds don't even consider to be that important or that serious, like, maybe a marijuana possession, or like Ratlin said, a domestic dispute where you went to court and you took some classes, and then you came back and the judge dismissed it and said, good job, you finished the class, I've dismissed the charge, you're free to go. And in your mind, you're thinking, well, I wasn't even convicted of it. For immigration purposes, you were. So you need to be very careful. If you have any criminal record, you need to consult with an immigration attorney about this.
Yes. And for those who are sitting at home and you're thinking, well, that does not apply to me, right? I am a permanent resident, and I am in great standing. I would never commit a crime. And for those other of you who are sitting home, like, these permanent residents just out there committing crimes, they shouldn't be able to come back in the United States. They should get their green card stripped away. For those of you who may be thinking about that, and I know there could be 1 or 2 of you out there who are thinking that, don't be so quick to judge, okay? Because sometimes bad things happen, people make mistakes, and one should not be punished and removed from the United States for something like a petty theft. Okay, so, but that can absolutely happen depending on the circumstances and depending on the sentence structure. One should not be detained without bond because of a marijuana ticket, right? When they're coming back into the United States. Marijuana, like 4/11 is almost coming up, right? That's the day of, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the day of marijuana smoking. PSA, permanent residents, non-U.S. citizens, do not use marijuana. It is still illegal under federal law.
Mm-hmm.
And drug use, drug charges, drug convictions, when you're coming back into the United States and you're a permanent resident, you are going to be in serious trouble. All right? You are going to be in serious trouble. You're not going to be leaving until you go to immigration court, and there's potentially a waiver that is filed for you. But if you don't have a qualifying family member, you're in trouble. So just please be careful. And if you're permanent resident and you do have a drug conviction, you can't leave. I mean, you are going to be inadmissible to come back into the United States.
Here's where it gets really confusing. Some things that there are some things that don't make you deportable, but do make you inadmissible.
Right. And that is one of them. And, even if you have a simple possession of marijuana less than 30 grams, which is, that you get one of those, you're still going to have to most likely go in front of an immigration judge to show that it was less than 30 grams of marijuana. So just be really careful. Again, all the questions in the comments on the videos, it is a very scary world out there. And when you see the comments, you see what we're talking about. Things happen, right? A DUI happens. A shoplifting may happen. A domestic assault and battery may happen. And these are not horrible, awful people that need to get deported for these things. And so just be careful. That's just the number one thing. And if you have any question at all, somebody made a joke like, oh my gosh, it's fiesta season in the Philippines. The lechon is waiting. The beaches are waiting. I need to go. You can go, but take an inventory. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right?
That's true for a lot of things in life.
Yeah. And I have clients that we need to advise and who are asking us, they have zero issues and they're still afraid to travel right now just because it's very hot right now. There's just it's like popcorn in a microwave, right? It's just popping off. Yep. And you don't want to get caught in the dragnet. And we're not trying to scare you. This is just reality. And
yeah, there's strict enforcement right now with all this. This is not scare tactics. This is just planning. And that's what lawyers are trained in part to do, is foresee all the trouble ahead and avoid it.
Right. Okay. Enough lecturing.
Do you think everybody heard that I've been sick all day? I don't want. If you see me closing my eyes every once in a while, it's because
John never wants to miss out on the fun.
Yes, that's right.
And I really tried to get him to not come to our live tonight, but he just didn't want to miss it. He just didn't want to miss being with me and with you.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's grab the first question. We don't have any questions on Facebook right now from what I can see.
Okay, well, we've got a question here in dealing with travel. Is it safe to travel with advanced parole, no criminal record, or immigration issues?
I would ask your lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we have always said on our Facebook Live and when we do videos, we're not going to make a call for you on whether you should travel, right? That's something that your immigration attorney should take a look at and
knowing your entire history.
Knowing your entire immigration history, exactly. If you are a person who, let's say you came into the United States on a fiancé visa and you got married within the 90 days and you filed your adjustment of status application along with your work authorization and your advanced parole, you have no periods of overstay, right? Many marriage adjustment cases that we do, there's overstay. A person has overstayed. Probably you'll be fine, but you definitely need to talk to your immigration attorney to make sure about that. And, just right now, I'm not telling our clients who meet with us, who we hear their facts, to travel on advanced parole if they have a period of overstay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, it's by law, you're allowed to, but it's just, why do it?
Yeah, I am particularly averse to uncertainty. I don't like to traveling at all right now, but
yeah,
I know that it's okay for many.
Right. It's okay for many people who are permanent residents who don't have any of these issues, that they're fine. They're coming back in. They're totally fine. But I don't know how you got your advanced parole. I don't know what your history is. Just, I would talk to your attorney about it. All right. Next question.
Okay, could having a DUI years ago be a problem getting citizenship? Depends.
It depends. So years ago, let's just say it's outside 5 years. Let's just say it was 6 years ago. And we're talking about a DUI with no aggravating circumstances, right? Just a DUI. You got a DUI. It's typically, is a DUI typically a misdemeanor? I don't know.
Class 1 here in Virginia.
Okay, so here in Virginia, a DUI is a class 1 misdemeanor. I don't know what state you live in. And it depends on, let's just say it's a class 1 misdemeanor. It's a straight DUI, no aggravating circumstances. It happened outside of the 5-year good moral character period. So what that means is when you apply for U.S. citizenship, you have to be a person of good moral character for the past 5 years. Okay. And if you're married to a U.S. citizen, it's past 3 years. If you are getting it through military service, it's past 1. So if it's outside of the 5-year good moral character period, then you're probably okay to have one incident of a DUI on your record and applying for naturalization. That said, what are we going to say? You need to have an attorney review your case and even file your N-400 case. We can help you with that. If you don't want to hire us, totally fine. Go find an immigration attorney that you love, that you don't even have to love them. You can like them, that you respect, and that is reputable to help you with your naturalization case. Why would you not do that? You are going to do that.
And keep an eye on any good behavior period. It's very common in Virginia, and I think a lot of states do this. But in Virginia, if you have a DUI conviction, there's almost always some amount of jail time, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And if it's a first offense and there's nothing aggravating, like Radlin said, then that jail time is suspended on condition of good behavior, meaning as long as you stay out of trouble, they don't reimpose the jail time. So it's kind of like hanging over your head to make sure that you stay clear of the drinking, especially the drinking and driving, or any other crime for that matter. But this is important because you're not going to be able to go forward with your citizenship case if you're in that good behavior period. So if you have a DUI case, you may want to talk to anyone out there who's got one pending and wants to naturalize. Talk to your defense lawyer about trying to reduce that good behavior period to as short of amount of time as possible.
Yes, great recommendation. All right. So Reese here says, I just want to ask if I marry a J1 visa holder, I'm assuming, and I'm on the B1, B2 visa, does USCIS cancel the B1, B2 visa?
Sorry. That was not your question that did that.
John is sick. Yeah, John is under the weather. I have no idea why he's here, and he's sitting.
I know, right?
He's sitting so close to me too. No, be in frame.
I probably should have worn a mask.
So, when you marry someone on a J1, if you are wanting to do a change of status to the dependent of a J1 visa holder, then you will, if approved by USCIS, you will get an I-94 showing that you are now a J1. So when you travel outside of the United States, you will then have to get a J1 visa to come back into the United States as the dependent of a J1 visa holder. USCIS is not the agency that will be canceling the B1, B2 visa. That would be the State Department if they do that, but they won't necessarily do that just because you get married here in the United States, which I'm assuming to a J1 visa holder. Hopefully that helps and answers your question. Reese, thank you for that. All right, next question.
Yeah, I wanted to get into this at some point. So, okay. Karen wants to know, would it make a difference if a 10-year green card travel with global entry and has TSA pre-check?
Yes, great question. So a person who has global entry and TSA pre-check, a 10-year green card holder, does it make a difference? Yes, it does make a difference in the sense that they've already vetted you. You don't have any criminal record history that's going to pose an issue to coming into the United States. They've given you that global entry, but that does not it's not dispositive, right? It's not it's not the final word just because you have TSA pre-check and you have global entry. It's not like, oh, just come on through, you're good, even because they're always going to look again. That basically shows that you have a clean criminal record history. But let's say you come into the United States and you have more than $10,000 in currency, you could be stopped and questioned, right? As a permanent resident, you could be, or anyone coming into the United States, even as a U.S. citizen. So my point in bringing that up is that even though you have TSA pre-check and global entry, does not mean you're not going to get questioned by Customs and Border Protection at the airport when you're coming in, or doesn't mean that you're not going to be referred to secondary inspection. It all just depends, right? That global entry goes to your criminal record history. I've seen people get their global entry taken away because of currency issues, just bringing in too much money accidentally even. So be careful with that. I know that's not what your question is, but as a permanent resident, you will always, not always, but they can always inspect you in a way that questions whether you're able to come in to the United States as a permanent resident if some of these other things come up, right? If you've been outside of the United States for more than 180 days, if you have a criminal record history, if they, are just doing random search of phones and they see that you have things on social media that is contrary to what that reflects something that the government thinks is akin to terrorist activity, or so it does help with the criminal record part, but it doesn't help with every single thing. I know probably none of this applies to you, but if it did, you could still have some issues.
Mm-hmm. You can be polite but firm to not answer questions, but that's going to create a delay. But you may not want to.
Yep.
That'd be citizens and green card holders. Okay, Honey over here. I think the best option, I personally think the best route is to have your paperwork with you at all times. I think that clears it up. Honey wants to know, can I apply for EB3 for myself if I already have a business in the US? So
yeah, so
we don't just do family immigration. We also do business immigration. We don't get a lot of those questions on this particular live cast, but
yeah. So the question is, she or they have, maybe they have an investor's visa. Maybe they're in the United States on an E2 visa. So an E2 visa is where you can invest in the United States in a business and create jobs and make a substantial investment towards that business and direct the enterprise, direct the business. So if an opportunity presents itself and say there's another company, then you may be able to apply for, you may be able to pursue that EB3 opportunity. One thing to keep in mind though, if you are on the E2, is that the E2 does not, you cannot have dual intent on that E2. And somewhere in that EB3 process, once the company files that I-140 for you, that's 8, 9, 10 months down the road, then that's a point in time where you have immigrant intent in the United States. But let's just say you're, maybe you're dependent of an F1 and you just own business. You just own a business, right? You can own a business. Yes, some other company can file that EB3 for you, but you just have to keep in mind that an E2, typically non-immigrant visas like an F1, J1, do not allow immigrant intent. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. I would note when you're dealing with CBP that if you're coming on a visa, that you don't have you have the least amount of rights procedurally coming in.
Okay. Did you want to cover, that information?
No, I'm just sort of sprinkling it in for now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. My boyfriend was deported,
Okay.
but allowed to re-enter, and then he got detained. He's doing voluntary deportation. Can he re-enter?
I don't know. I mean, I would have to know a lot more facts about that. I mean, I'm curious why he was detained upon re-entry, if he was allowed to re-enter, if he's doing voluntary departure, and maybe they were short visits when he was coming back in. It's possible. It is possible, depending on the amount of time that he was in the United States on each one of those entries. So hopefully that helps. You can give us a call. We do consultations for these types of matters, and our office number is 757-464-9224. We are located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but we serve people all around the United States and all around the world. So all of our appointments, all of our initial appointments, even if you are in our backyard, are done by Zoom. So be happy to consult with you on that.
Absolutely. By the way, you had mentioned countries that are banned for entering, and we named a few of them, but I came across all of them right now. It's Afghanistan, Bhutan.
This is this is the red list.
Yeah. Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen. So you should not be traveling from one of those countries into the U.S. You're not going to have success.
Right. That has not gone into effect yet, but you will have extra scrutiny for sure.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay, the next question is, should I be worried re-entering with an I-751 receipt and petty theft charge that was dismissed?
Okay, so great question. This is a person who is a conditional resident. This person has filed their I-751 to remove the conditions on their lawful permanent residency, and they have a petty theft that was dismissed. One, I would ask, was it dismissed on the merits, or was it a deferred finding like John was talking about earlier, right? So if you have a deferred finding, which means that the judge, you explain the deferred finding. You can explain it a lot better than I can.
The judge takes it under advisement for a period of time and basically holds some penalty over your head, payment of court costs, maybe payment of a fine, maybe some jail time. And if you do all those things, then the charge gets dismissed. But that's not the same as a case being dismissed on the merits. If you pled not guilty to the petty theft charge and you were found not guilty on the merits of the case, and the paperwork reflects that, then that's an outright dismissal. And one thing you may want to consider, just as a side note, is having that expunged from your record.
Yes, if you pled not guilty and you were found not guilty, or maybe they just dropped the case against you.
Yep.
Then yes, you should be fine with these 3 data points that John and I have tonight. And we're reading a lot into the dismissal, that it was a straight dismissal, dismissed on the merits and not a deferred finding. I believe that in other jurisdictions, there's, it's called other things, like alternative adjudication. Mm-hmm. That's should be okay. With those 3 data points, not knowing anything about how that petty theft was dismissed. And I bring that up, as John said at the outset, we cannot and are not giving legal advice on this live, and we're answering questions because there's no way that we could dig into. Number one, you're not our clients, right? So not giving legal advice to non-clients. This is information. It's information for you to take and go talk to an immigration lawyer, right? To go talk to someone who might be, close to you, or if you want to consult with us, we'd be happy to consult with you and vet out and take a look at everything that you have to make sure that, you are good to go if you need to travel.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it really is the hot issue. I mean, in years past, we were not recommending that every single person traveling talk to an immigration lawyer. I think it's advisable now. We've seen this once before. We were just talking about it before we came on air. That during shortly after 9/11, it was a very similar situation, and we were telling people the same thing back then.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Again, I mean, these are open-ended. These are questions that are difficult to really get a strong answer on. But my friend's spouse is on a K-1 visa. He's about to submit the applications to get a green card. Is it safe? Again, Wimmy, it depends on a lot of things that we don't know.
But I mean, let's just assume it's all in the process of the K-1 visa, right? I mean, again, this is why we don't give legal ways, but let's just assume that it's your friend is submitting the adjustment of status all because of the process of the K-1 visa. Is the question, is it okay to submit the visa? The answer is yes. That's the next step in the process of the K-1 visa, not the visa, but the adjustment of status application. That is the next step in a K-1 visa after the couple gets married. So they should be fine.
Okay. These are all travel questions. I'm a green card holder and I drove without a valid driver's license before I got the green card. Can I travel? So you have basically a no valid driver's license conviction, I'm assuming.
No operator's license.
No operator's license is what we called in Virginia. It's class 2 misdemeanor here. It's not as serious as a DUI, but I don't know where you are and I don't know what happened with the case.
So let's just make some assumptions. Okay, let's just pretend this is a Virginia case. A person has a no operator's license. Okay, here it's a class 2 misdemeanor in Virginia. You have applied for the green card. You and your attorney have listed the no operator's license in that section where have you ever been arrested, fined, imprisoned? You know, you put that down. You put that down on your I-485 application. Okay, and then your green card application got approved. You received your green card. Yippee! You now want to travel outside the United States, and you know you have this no operator's license conviction. Number one, get something called the certified disposition of that to show what happened to it. Okay, you can go to the clerk's office and get a certified disposition. Anyone who has a criminal conviction, you can go and get a certified disposition of it and carry that with you when you travel. Okay. So let's just assume in your jurisdiction, it's a class 2 misdemeanor. Let's also assume that you have paid your fines on that. I mean, if you had an open case when you applied for your green card and you didn't pay the fines and it showed that it was not resolved, then you would not have gotten your green card necessarily. I mean, you could have, but so this is what we talk about when we say document. This should be okay, right? There could be other things that we need to know. But if this is the only thing that you have, this was put on your application when you applied for the green card, they approved your green card anyway, you can get a certified disposition showing that your fines and everything were paid. You should be fine in traveling with that particular charge and conviction. All right.
Okay. Still no questions over here on
Still
Facebook.
no
That's
questions.
unusual, but
It's
hey,
unusual.
as long as the TikTok is bringing them, then we'll just deal with the TikTok. You like how I call it the TikTok?
The TikTok. Hopefully they don't
ban me for that.
No, I think it could be getting banned soon. If TikTok does get banned, come find us on Facebook,
Yeah,
Instagram, YouTube. We are at Gardner Mendoza Law. That is what we're under, right? Under Facebook. Haven't said that in a really long time. But I'm Radlin Mendoza. This is my law partner and husband, John Gardner. And our immigration law firm is called Gardner Mendoza. We have a wonderful team. We would love to help you out if you need immigration help. Yep. Even though we are located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, we do help people all around the United States, all 50 states, and in the world.
Yep.
So
we have clients everywhere. It's pretty cool. Okay, so This Amber wants to know, I'm not sure I understand the question. I have been used fraud marriage, 10 years green card. What can I do?
So
Two ways to read that. Do you mean that you got a green card through a fraud marriage, or do you mean that your spouse used you to get a green card?
yes, I think that I think she means that she was used to get a 10-year green card. So
your husband has a green card now, a 10-year green card, and you've discovered that he just did it for the green card.
right. So I will say that immigration and ICE, they don't really like to get into sort of domestic types of issues like this. But I mean, you can always call ICE and make a report. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, I got married. He used me. He got the 10-year green card, and then he cheated on me. So not paying the bills at all. Thank you. Sorry, Amber, that's your situation.
Sorry, that is your situation.
That sucks, and that's a legal term. I mean, it really does.
I was going to comment that sounds like half the marriages out there, but that's may or may not be true. But yes, you can complain about that and make a complaint. ICE does not.
You can call ICE. That's not a high priority for them.
But you never know.
You never know.
They are looking right now.
They are looking right now. And there was a time period where they were indicting lots of people for fraudulent marriages in this area. It was the crime du jour. Okay.
Rosalie says, "Oh, that's a cute puppy." Rosalie has a cute puppy on her Facebook profile. Rosalie wants to know, how much is our consultation? We charge $295 for a 1 hour, up to 1 hour consultation. The consultation is typically done by Zoom. It's a video consultation. And that $295, when we're able to help you, or if we're able to help you, we do credit it back to your legal fees. So, yeah. We get into a lot with the consultation. Now, when you call our office for a consultation, you will be, first you will be meeting with our intake coordinator, who will ask you questions to see if it's something that we can actually help you with. And we don't want you to pay a consultation fee if it's not something that we actually can help you with or do. So we don't do asylum cases. We do consult with people sometimes with asylum cases, but we don't do them. A lot of times there are other things that we can do for people who are seeking asylum. We don't do removal hearings, but if you need a referral, we can assist you with that. We don't charge for that, but if you need a referral, you can give us a call and we can refer over some of our referral partners. So thanks for asking that question, Rosalie. Hopefully we see you.
It's really, really money well spent.
Absolutely.
I mean,
for
100%. Sure. Tin wants to know, do they check taxes for green card holders re-entering the U.S.?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I've not heard that.
This has nothing to do with taxes. It doesn't have anything to do with bankruptcy. It doesn't have anything to do with civil cases where someone might be suing you because you owe them money. Those are all financial things. What we're talking about does not really have anything to do with that. And even when you're filing for U.S. citizenship, they do USCIS. One of the questions is, have you ever failed to file your taxes? And if you say yes, that can prevent you from becoming a U.S. citizen. But that was a travel question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can you fix it?
Can you fix this? Yeah, you can absolutely fix it. So, I would recommend that you consider applying for U.S. citizenship, getting on a payment plan with the IRS, and
if you have unpaid taxes, we don't know that you do, but
if you have unpaid taxes, and just taking care of that. And for the people here who are saying, like this person is saying that they're a permanent resident, they have unpaid taxes. The other person is a 10-year green card. They have the global entry. If you're a permanent resident and you are eligible to naturalize and become a U.S. citizen, our question to you is, why have you not naturalized to become a U.S. citizen? So yes, maybe you're procrastinated. That's not a good excuse. Maybe you're afraid that your English is not good enough. If you're asking a question, you're writing a question, that's not a good excuse. We have grandmas who English is not their first language and immigrated to the United States at, age 65, 70, applying for U.S. citizenship at age 75, they can pass the test. So that's not a good excuse. Third common excuse is, oh, I don't want to become a U.S. citizen because I'm planning on moving back to my country at some point in time. That, in my experience, has not really happened too much. And so that's not a good excuse either. So please seriously think about applying for U.S. citizenship. You may be sitting there at home and thinking, I'm not applying for citizenship right now. They're going to deny me just because Trump is in the office. That's not true. If you are eligible for U.S. citizenship and you are a permanent resident, now is the time to file for citizenship. Don't wait. You won't have to ask these travel questions anymore. You'll be free to travel.
You'll have your U.S. passport and you will have certainty about coming in and out of the United States.
Right. Okay. That's no more lecture about that either.
Well, people need to hear it.
Don't let me tell the sad stories.
Now there's a
Should
lot
we tell
of
a sad story? Let's answer some questions, and then maybe if we have time,
Paul
or maybe
said
next week we'll tell a sad story.
If someone was denied 2 times before getting their green card, can they travel internationally?
So,
I'm assuming that third time was a charm, that you do have the green card now. Is that right?
Yeah, I would want to look at that. I would want to look, why was the green card denied twice? And apply. So I don't know. We would want to take a look at that and consult. And again, if your green card was denied twice and you applied for it, you finally got it, and you've had it for at least 5 years, maybe it's time to apply for citizenship.
Absolutely.
Our Scottish nanny from way back when, she immigrated to the United States in the 70s, and we helped her apply for U.S. citizenship. It had been 40, 50 years. So it's never too late if you're a long time green card holder, and maybe you're just thinking, well, gosh, I've been a permanent resident this long. Why would I even bother doing that? It's never too late to do it. It will give you peace of mind if this is the country that you live in, if your spouse is a U.S. citizen, if your children are U.S. citizen. This is what we find often, that mom or dad is a permanent resident and has not become a U.S. citizen, but spouse is a U.S. citizen. All the children are U.S. citizens. Their siblings are U.S. citizens. Their grandchildren are U.S. citizens. What are you waiting for?
Absolutely. Okay, Tin says they can't revoke your green card and deport you without a legal basis, right? That's
correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
Only an immigration judge can formally revoke your green card. I think where the debate right now is legal basis is broad, and there's they're using a lot more broad meanings and discretion about what they think. But at the end of the day, if you have a green card and you're going to get deported formally, you will have a day in court. You will get to go before an immigration judge.
Yep, absolutely. And this actually reminds me of something that I was thinking about. And it is parents. Okay. Parents who are lawful permanent residents. So U.S. citizen kids out there, you know who you are. You want your parents to be in the United States. You have gone through the process of getting them a green card, and your parents just won't stay in the United States, right? They just keep traveling. They keep traveling out. They go to the Philippines. They go to India. They go to Egypt, wherever they go, right? Wherever their country is. And they stay there for 4 or 5 months. They come back to the United States play with the grandchildren for a couple of weeks, go back outside of the United States, stay in their country for 3 months, come back for another week. And they just have this travel where they aren't staying outside of the United States for more than 180 days on the one hand, but they're going back and forth. And at some point, maybe sooner rather than later nowadays, they are going to be stopped at the airport. And they may even be pressured to abandon their green cards. So if this resonates with anyone, we represent a lot of people who want to bring who we go through the process of petitioning for their parents and their U.S. citizen kids, and they have the little grandchildren. They want the parents to be closer because my mom and dad are getting so old and there's no one in the Philippines to take care of them. And we just want them to be close to us. So you bring them here and then you go work at your 2 jobs and you leave your parents at home all day long. They never see you. The grandkids are in school. They don't talk to their grandparents because they have their school activities, and you know what I'm talking about. Take care of this situation, guys. Don't force your parents to come to the United States if they don't want to come to the United States. I mean, I've had clients who have just abandoned their green cards because they're getting pressure, and this is before Trump. This is they're getting pressure when they're coming back and forth to the United States to just like land down.
It's not for everyone.
And go back out because they really want to be here. They don't want to be here. And so if that's the case, you may want to think about reentry permit. If your parents want to stay out longer and so they're not given that big of a hassle, they can still be questioned. I just make sure if you really want this to work that your parents are keeping ties in the United States. So because CBP is not saying, hey, they abandoned. And also talk to them about, and this is for you all too, and may not just be older parents. It could be young people like us, right? If CBP is pressuring them to sign an abandonment of their green card, they can do that. Don't sign anything.
Yeah, don't sign documents.
As John mentioned before, only an immigration judge can take away your green card. Is it going to be uncomfortable to sit there in secondary and be threatened and whatever else happens? Yes, it is going to be uncomfortable for them, but it's something that you do need to talk to them about. And if your parents are doing this, or if you're doing this, or your spouse is doing this for whatever reason, they need to stop, or at least need to take a break for 4 years, right? Or get a reentry permit. But it just can't go on. I mean, like I mentioned, we've had problems with our parents of U.S. citizens even before Trump. But this is really it's going to really come to light, and they're just asking tougher questions at the port of entry. So I don't even remember what the question was, but it's something that I've been thinking about, and I think that people who are in their 40s or 50s and they want their parents to come live in the United States because they want their parents to be closer because they're not moving back home, right? This can come up and this can happen.
So quickly, I'll just address Lay here. Wanted to know if possession with intent to basically distribute is a problem. Lay, that's way more serious than the simple possession types of things we've been talking about. If you're anyone out there and you have a drug possession with intent to distribute charge, which is almost certainly going to be a felony and a drug charge, you need to talk to an immigration lawyer before you do anything or attempt to do anything.
You definitely better not leave the country. Yep, that's for sure.
So, that's next level for problems here.
Yep, absolutely. So Rosalie has a question. She says, can I leave the country, the United States, for vacation if my naturalization application is in progress? The answer is yes, you can. But Rosalie, just make sure all of your ducks are in order, as we've talked about for the past 56 minutes regarding travel. All right, we're
okay. The chosen one.
Okay.
I'm sick, folks. I really went faster than that.
I'm gonna have a sip of water while you're reading that.
My N400 was denied because they said I'm already a derivative citizen. What
Mhm.
do I do?
Well, it's not a terrible problem to have. So this question, this is a really, I've talked about this in the past 3 weeks with a couple of different potential clients. So what the chosen one is saying is that he applied for naturalization, and they're, okay, parent became a U.S. citizen this date, parent became a U.S. citizen this date. Oh, you derive U.S. citizenship from one or both of your parents. This is the wrong application to file. You should have filed, the N600 application. So what do you do? We would be happy to help you in proving that you derived citizenship from a parent or both of your parents. This is a little bit of a situation sometimes, because sometimes our clients can't prove and come up with documentation that is needed in order to prove that they have derived U.S. citizenship from one or both parents. So it's something that can definitely be solved, and the fact that they were able to pull it up and see that maybe both of your parents naturalized before you turned 18, one or both. It also depends on when you were born as well, and whether you were, were your parents U.S. born? Did they naturalize? So there are a lot of different factors here, but it's something that can definitely be solved. I'm sorry that they denied your naturalization application, because I'm sure you're just ready to pass the test and swear in. It's just about proving it and showing it.
Okay, Tin said here, I saw that CBP are doing searches on cell phones and other electronic devices upon reentry in the U.S. That's true. I just want to remind you that citizens and green card holders can choose to not answer CBP officers' questions or let them search their electronic devices, although refusing to do so could result in a delay in entry, but you do not have to agree to it voluntarily.
Right. And so a lot of what I've heard is that, well, people are advising, other attorneys are advising. I've heard this on social media. I've seen this in the news. We've seen it from seasoned immigration attorneys, retired, that, just limit your digital footprint, right? If you can, when you're traveling. I mean, I love to travel with my phone. Everything's on my phone. Everything is on all of our phones. And, our Facebook, our Gardner Mendoza Immigration Law Firm Facebook page is on my phone. Actually, no, it's not. The TikTok is on the phone. Well, I mean, do you want to just kind of breeze through? And I don't want CBP going through and saying, oh, wow, you did, a know your rights, and you're doing, all these every Monday night, you and your husband are just telling people, how to
you don't
dodge
have to answer
us.
their questions.
You don't have to answer. I don't want that to happen to me and my family the next time we're coming into the United States. I mean, yeah, we are doing that, but is that a reason to detain us longer than we need to go into secondary inspection? No, it's not. And so, am I going to limit my digital footprint when I'm coming back into the United States? Potentially. Yeah. I mean, that could be a strategy where I don't want to have to deal with the hassle. I'm not doing anything wrong, but I don't want to deal with the hassle. We have 3 daughters. You guys have ever traveled with 3 teenage daughters before? After a really long flight. And, we've gotten pulled into secondary inspection several times.
Not because of the TikTok or Facebook.
Not because of TikTok,
Just
right?
to be clear.
Because of cigarettes in the luggage. And it's just not pleasant. It's just unpleasant for the whole family. The kids don't really know what to expect. They're kind of freaking out, and so it's not worth the hassle to just be traveling with all the things and the things that could make them question you. You haven't done anything wrong, but you also don't want to give them any reason, right?
Okay, on that
right.
note, we are out of time. The chosen one wanted to know how he can work with us. You can call 757-464-9224 or email info@gmlaw.net.
Yep. Or
All
you can
right.
come to our, reach out to us through Messenger. And there's also a link in the TikTok bio. And you can reach out to us that
And we
way.
can absolutely help you. All right. Okay, guys.
2 thumbs up. Good job. You made it.
I made it.
You made it through.
I'm
We'll see
going to
you
bed. 2 thumbs up.
next Monday. You guys have a wonderful evening. Take
Yep.
care.
Take care, everyone.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.